So I mean, that would kind of be the solution then if they closed Tony Rose, would be to look for other municipalities to offer, like if you get full time from other municipalities.
Well, if we want to offer our programs such as they were last year, the year before, even up in, I guess the first 2 years we were kind of growing and we kind of were assessing what programs we needed, but I think we had a pretty good handle on it in the last 2 years. Yeah, we won't be able to offer everything. There's no way we can make it work. With limits on lane space especially, there'll be programs that don't generate the revenue for our club that will actually cause us to lose money, right? Because if we are only allowed to have 4 kids in 2 lanes, we have to rent that lane space, and then we have to pay, $26 to $30 an hour to rent the lane. We have to pay a coach to coach swimmers, and it's costing us $50 an hour, and we might not get that revenue back from enrollment fees for a club. And we can't ask families in this age, especially, to pay even more than they've been paying. I mean, we did raise our fees fairly substantially to pay for more pool time, more coaches, better coaching for our new blocks. We raised our fundraising levels our second year because we knew the new blocks were coming in and we needed to help pay for them. We don't want to have to ask families to pay more in an era when they can't, and maybe they need to pay less. So that's going to be a very, very difficult reality to deal with. Is if we have 2 pools available to us, we'll probably run everything, but just in a reduced number of practices because we have a reduced number of swimmers per lane, so that lane load is less. But if we lose a pool, then we're definitely going to have to cut programs. There's no way we can offer everything that we've offered. It's not going to be financially feasible. The club will be bankrupted, or families will have to pay such exorbitant fees that it's not something that some will be able to do, and we'll lose membership that way. And so finding that balance is going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult for us. It'll be difficult for everybody, right? Every sports team, I'm sure. But like I said, if we lose a facility, then we can't offer everything because the town still wants to offer programs. We were talking actually about trying to find a way to get more pool time and bringing our swimmers in the 11th and 12th grade into the pool times of low usage, either 7:30 to 9:30 in the morning or from 2 to 4 p.m. And we actually had approval from the superintendent of our school board and from high school principals and guidance counselors. Unfortunately, parents were maybe just a little bit surprised about the idea of their kid missing a period of school each day. It's done in many other places where there are high performance programs. And the idea wasn't just to get those kids and allow our club to grow, but realizing that those kids have a very big workload with school, and then with swimming, they don't really have much time for anything else. By allowing them to swim when they would have been at school, put some time back in their day for studying when they're not exhausted, for social time, right? For some other activities that maybe they're sacrificing, and certainly I think the social one's one of the first ones to go. So maybe parents would be a little more at ease now that their kids have done school remotely, online. That might be something we revisit. But in order to do that, of course, we needed those kids to sit down with guidance counselors coming into high school and kind of map out what they wanted to do later, maybe at university or college, to take a summer course or a distance ed course here or there. And we were always recommending that they do something like English, which is much easier, in my opinion anyway, to do remotely than something like math or physics or chemistry, where that face-to-face instruction is probably a little more critical to success in those courses. But if they're only losing one period, in grade 11 and grade 12, if they were able to do co-op, or they were able to get a gym credit or other types of things we were looking at, we might be able to survive. But kids have not planned for that for this season, right? They've chosen their courses.
They don't even know what school's going to look like.
Yeah, and neither do we. And so it's really tough for us to to say, hey, we're going to have you swimming, and it might be the only time that you have in a class instruction in person. No, I believe now our classes are set that kids are going back for quadmesters, and they're staying in a similar cohort, and they're going for 5 hours a day, full days, at least in our public health district. But we could plan for that for the 2021-2022 season. But for this season, it's too late to figure out. There's a lot of logistical things and things we need to do to get that to work. But that's a possibility in the future. But again, we don't know what the future is going to look like. And with only one pool, I still don't think, we're only talking about taking, our top 30 kids out of the pool. So we're making more space, but we're not making as much space as we might need to accommodate everybody that's in our club currently. That would potentially be dropped because we don't have the space. And especially if we have these restrictions on how many swimmers per lane, we're going to have to be very creative, and we're going to have to utilize our dry land programming as well, and rely on some of our assistant coaches, maybe a little bit more to help cover things that I would normally do. Because if I have to have groups separated, I'm at the pool for 4 or 5 hours a night, I can't go over to the gym to make sure that my swimmers are doing weights in a safe manner, and we'll have to have someone else. So again, there are a lot of questions yet to be answered.
Wow. So like if they did close Tony Rose, even if we did get back to normal, quote unquote, it would drastically stunt the growth and the trajectory of what you guys have been doing over the past couple of years.
Yeah, and to be quite frank, I probably wouldn't look to stay here. I'd probably look for a job somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm very happy here. The club has been good to me. They've given me the ability to develop a program that I'm proud of, that I wanted to develop here. Like I said, I'm very happy with where the team is, but to lose the work that we put in to help our club grow over 4 years would be frustrating, certainly disappointing, and not what I want. And with the inability to run the program the way that I'd like now in COVID, am I able to do that elsewhere? It's hard to know, but there's a lot of coaching movement after every Olympic cycle. So I have a contract until 2023, 2024 through that season, and then I'm able to get out of my contract earlier in certain conditions. I would very, very heavily consider leaving. I do love Orangeville. I think it's a great community. I have 2 kids here, and in leaving, I might even keep my family base out of Orangeville because I do love the community, and I believe that, like I said, we have the ability to offer everything that kids need, right? We have all the sports teams. We have great schools, right? We have great families here. It's a wonderful community. I would hate to leave. But ultimately, I don't want to be frustrated and restricted in the way that I can't accomplish what I came here to accomplish. And in fact, I've lost a lot. I have 4 years of work. It's not what I want. I certainly want our club to be thriving and to be building and to be, to be large and to have kids involved in the sport. And if I have to stop offering programs, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow, and not something that I'm going to want to have to work with year over year over year. I think closing both pools would be extremely short-sighted. I'm hopeful that our council and our Parks and Rec department realize the impact that closing Tony Rose permanently would have on our club, but also aquatics in the community, and the lack of offerings that will lead to people not being able to swim and people not taking part in aquatics and choosing other sports. And I love swimming. It's a great sport. It's low impact. It's healthy. Especially in the age of COVID, it's relatively safe. Where kids are in the water, they're breathing into the water, and chlorine's inactivating the virus, or they're exhaling into the water. Sorry, it's not the same as a contact sport in that regard. So social distancing can be done and will be done until the point at which it's safe to kind of build up our numbers. But yeah, I don't want to stay here. I'd be very, very frustrated if we couldn't offer something similar to what we're offering now, because a pool was closed on us, and it really just essentially killed our club. Now we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I have no intent to leave now. I'm willing to work with the town in any way to help secure another facility. As an advisor, as a fundraiser, as whatever they need, a champion of the sport of swimming in the community, whatever I can do to help get a new pool here, I will do. I've led some projects, including getting the new blocks here, and the town was great working with us on that, right? Ray, Charles, Sharon, and other people, they did a lot of work, and we got top level blocks, and we needed them, and we've produced provincial champions in the sport of swimming and provincial medalists, many, many more. We had 10 kids at junior nationals last season. We've thrived in part because the town shared our vision for getting some top level equipment and giving us pool time and access to what we needed. So we're very hopeful that the town will continue to work with us and to help us achieve our goals as a club. They've done that so far. So we're just going to hope that they continue to work with us in that way.
That's good. That's good that there's hope. Because it would make complete sense. If you left, what they've done, what would happen essentially is not only have they erased the progress you've made over the last few years, but they would put a limitation on what you could do again. And that's the hardest part, I would say. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think so. I think, to be honest with where our club is now, I think another head coach could come in and could do well for a few seasons. When I started here in 2016, 2017, one of the best things I did was I coached kids aged 9 to 12, which was not my intent when I arrived. But until the point at which I felt we had a good program of development with our staff, I coached the youngest kids. And so they were learning the skills that I wanted them to have when they were 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and competing at the highest levels nationally.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of very, very competent kids between the ages of 10 and 14 right now. We're very, very strong there. So another head coach could come in and would be fine with that group of kids.
Yeah.
I guess, and even with our development staff. So another coach would come in and do well because they wouldn't have to build it from where it was previously and no disrespect to Anne, she just did so many things. She was basically the only full-time coach. And there are just too many kids, too many programs. It was too much work for one person. So another coach would come in and do well, but would another head coach really want to come here to an area with one pool where the sport has kind of started the interest has declined and numbers of the club have declined? And would the club be able to pay that coach a fair market salary to do what they could do somewhere else? Probably not. That's going to be one of the big parts is, because of the retraction that we're anticipating due to COVID and the potential closing of a pool, I had to let go of a full-time salaried assistant, and I'm taking on a good portion of that coach's responsibilities next season. And my assistant coach, Rich, is taking on some of those responsibilities. Well, and I have other assistant coaches, but Rich is, he coaches more swimmers and more of the programs. I have Larry Gray and Kimberly McGowan as well, who are fantastic assistant coaches, and I don't want to discredit them. They do a fantastic job, but the amount of coaching hours that Rich does is more significant, and what I'm going to be doing for a head coach is much more significant than most head coaches do. Most head coaches have one group, 24 to 30 swimmers, 15 and over, and I'll be coaching up to 30 kids in that age range and 30 kids in the age range of 10 to 12 next year. So would you be able to find a head coach that wants to do that and pay them less than they would make at another location, another team to do less work? Who knows? Who knows? It's going to really change the dynamic and the culture of swimming in Orangeville. We won our first regional championship last year, which was a little bit of a surprise because Barrie was such a dominant force for so long and so large. I would hate if I left to see the club and swimmers that I've worked with, that I care about them as people and as swimmers and their families and the good people here as Orangeville Otters. I'd hate to see the club, decline. I don't want that to happen. I've told that to our board. We have a fantastic board of directors. They're very progressive, very intelligent people. They understand that, that I may want to leave at some point if there is a really big coaching opportunity. I made that known to them when they hired me, that I would do 4 years. I wanted a 4-year contract, a whole Olympic cycle, and then to reevaluate, and that I would probably do 8 years, maybe more. I don't know. Right? Like I said, I'm happier here than I thought I would be, professionally and personally. So maybe I'll stay for a long time. I have no idea. But if I were to leave, I don't want to leave the club in a position where they don't have a coach that they need, or they're not able to offer programs to help support the level of coaching that they would want to have. This has been sort of a big project of mine, and I don't want to see it die off because we lose pools, because of COVID, because I'm just in a situation where I'm not happy professionally anymore and I need to leave. I would like to leave it in the hands of a great coach. I'd like to leave them a program that's thriving, so that swimming in Orangeville can be successful for years to come, whether I'm here or not.
Well, that would allow them to build upon the legacy that you've laid down here. And I mean, and the reality is, like, if you leave, it'll be an entirely different situation than when you came. Like, when you got here, there was room to grow. Like,
Yes.
that will not be the case if you left due to this reason of Tony Rose closing. Like, there is a firm limitation on what can be done then.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll require a lot of, again, reaching out to other municipalities, and what kind of interest can you still get from actual swimmers then at that point? Because you've laid down the challenges for that already.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'm, like I said, I'm very happy with where our club has gotten to at this point. I'm very proud of my swimmers and staff, and there are certainly some challenges ahead of us with COVID and helping the community understand that we need a new pool. But again, like you said, what would someone be coming into if they closed the pool? Certainly not the situation I walked into. I took a look at the situation, and I knew through friends that lived here that there was, and I just kind of felt that there was a good opportunity to take swimming here to places it hadn't yet gone to. And I like I said, I don't want to see the community lose out, not just on having a good competitive swim club, but on having a good number of offerings for kids for learn to swim programs and life-saving programs, and the opportunity potentially to have a diving team and a synchro team and a water polo team, and just lane space where parents aren't bringing their kids out of school to put them in a learn to swim program because they're full. Admittedly, my older son, Bennett, he was withheld from a few programs because we hadn't gotten report cards to know what level to register him in for the next session. And when we finally got them, they'd opened up registration and it was full. So we just had to start guessing. Okay, well, we think he's going to pass this level, we'll put him in the next one. Or he's not going to pass that level, he's going to redo it, so we'll put him in this one. It's almost cutthroat in that regard with registration because there's a huge demand for it. And so I firmly believe that we need to have two pools. And in my opinion, we should build something that's better than Tony Rose, that's better than Alder. If it's possible, Alder, they're going to move that. They're going to move the slide, and they're going to put like a therapeutic lane. We suggested that when we suggested they build a new pool over at Tony Rose. We were suggesting that they build a new pool there, actually, and not close any of the rinks, to take the parking lot space that was there and to build a parking garage next door, with like a little walkway across, so it's safe. Kids don't have to walk across the street, because you get people barreling down over by Murray's Mountain around the bend, and kids are crossing the street, and then that's a dangerous area because you can't see cars coming easily, especially in the wintertime. Our suggestion was, those basketball courts, they're not utilized properly, and I don't know who owns the land, but we just said, why don't you build a parking garage and have it, access to the facility straight from the parking garage. Think in 3 dimensions with respect to parking. I mean, that Tony Rose parking lot is packed anyway. If you have people swimming and you got people at a hockey tournament or they're skating competition, right? It's nuts. You can't find parking there sometimes at all. So, we're supportive of bigger, better facilities, and then also making them accessible to everybody. Like Tony Rose is the access to the pool is difficult for people who are in wheelchairs or who have other impairments with mobility, but also there's a lot of area that they could use to if they moved the parking lot and they built a better pool there and they used some of that space and didn't close either of the rinks. I didn't close the Lord Dufferin Learning Center there, right? And some of those other things, right? Wasn't that part of the plan? They were gonna do something with that as well, I believe, initially anyway. I can't remember. I read the plan and I spent a good evening reading it, and it feels like it's been a little while now. Anyway, we would love to see a multi-purpose facility there with weight room, with area for lacrosse, because we know lacrosse is big. Dryland areas, like we could say dryland, like training areas for people to do plyometrics and core and dance studios and basketball courts. And we would love to see just a great multi-purpose facility there. But that would include obviously a high-level pool where we could host great events. I mean, that's what we would like. That's what we would love to see. That's what we think our community wants. And we want to make that happen in whatever way we can.
Well, it lays the foundation for so many things.
Yeah, you have to have that vision though, right? I mean, and I think that there are people on the council, and I think there are people in Parks and Rec that share that vision. That, like, the Parks and Rec department is catching heat for the pool proposal. It wasn't them that proposed it. It was the master plan and the people that wrote the master plan. And so I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus here by any means. Certainly want the Parks and Rec department to continue to work with us and understand that we have opportunities here to make this a local hub for maybe even a greater geographical region. By starting what I was calling the Swimming Academy program, where kids were out of school and swimming during one of their classes, I thought we might even be able to attract some high-level swimmers that were with other clubs without recruiting them, without trying to steal them. I thought that, because I swam on the national team, I made the national team at the Commonwealth Games in 1998, so the summer between grade 11 and grade 12, and I was forced to withdraw from school twice because I missed more than 40 days. When I was traveling with the national team or otherwise at training camps, and it wasn't fair. I mean, I was carrying a mid to high 80 average, and I couldn't get my credits. And so, I mean, it made no sense to me. There's no logic. I had physics and math and chemistry and other things, and I was keeping up with my studies. I wasn't doing as well as I could have. I was a pretty good student mathematically, especially, but they made me withdraw from school and do it through Independent Learning Center, where they send you books in the mail. It wasn't on the internet yet. And I had to answer and learn everything online and send these booklets back. So even though I had instruction for 35 to 40 days out of the semester, and I was doing my tests and I was doing my assignments and handing them in, they said, no, you missed too much, so now you have to withdraw from school. We won't allow you to get these credits. You have to do it all on your own with no instruction. That made no sense. But I thought, if we had that academy program, kids would still be getting instruction at least every other day in school and keeping up with their studies. Our swimmers are pretty good academically as well. A lot of dedication that goes into swimming. It takes a lot of time. So I think swimmers realize that they have to get their schoolwork done immediately upon getting home and eating dinner. They're very regimented in that regard. So we thought we might actually become an even greater hub, and we might get swimmers that are currently on other clubs deciding that they wanted to move over to our team and go to high schools here, because we had what, in my opinion, is a very progressive program. And I used to see that when I swam with the Etobicoke Swim Club. There were lots of kids that went to Silverthorne Collegiate that were swimming during times that every other kid was in school. So we thought we might be able to mimic that. And if you look at the history of the Etobicoke Swim Club, they're one of the most successful age group programs in Canada over the last 40 years. Right, since the 80s, when they had Alison Higson setting world records and other people from that Etobicoke program making the national team and swimming at the Olympic Games. They've consistently produced a very large number of our Olympic team that are coming out of non-university or non-national training center programs. I'm not saying that we're going to get that level of enrollment or that we're going to be producing as many Olympians as them, but certainly by thinking out of the box and doing things a little bit differently, we could potentially have some kids performing at an even higher level than just qualifying for Olympic trials. And in fact, I'd really like to see someone from the Orangeville Otters in an Olympic trials final in 2024. That's we've got kids to the meet, and that's fantastic. We don't currently have anyone that would be expected to be in the finals where they're actually racing after the preliminary session in the final session where they could qualify for the Olympic team. That said, 4 years down the road, we have some kids in our program who have a very, very good shot of competing in the finals, and maybe even a couple that might be working towards getting on that team. It's really hard to say. It's still 4 years down the road, but we have kids who have shown the signs now that they could potentially be there in 4 years. So that's what I'd envision for swimming in 4 years. Better, a newer complex, a new facility. Kids swimming in an academy program, a 10-lane pool where we have other aquatics, sports teams in the community. We still have Alder, which is a great facility. It's better than anything I swam in when I was growing up, and I managed to make an Olympic team out of a pool that was worse than Alder. That's what I envision is more aquatics programming, more kids involved in learn to swim facilities to service not only the community we're servicing now, but a bigger geographical region, and maybe even having a high performance high school swim program where kids are swimming in off times during the day that allows them to spend more time doing their studies. I mean, one of the biggest problems for me is if I swam from 4 till 7:30, 4 to 6 in the water, and then I was doing 6:15 to 7:30 at weights or doing plyometrics or core or other things. By the time I got home at 8, it was 8:30 at night, and I had a morning practice, or I was just tired. It was really hard to make sure I was getting all the work done that I needed to for school too. So anyway, that's where we hope we're going to go. Like I said, we have a new town council, so some fresh ideas. We do have a Parks and Rec department that has worked with us in the past on some big projects, new lane ropes. So if you've been to Alder now in the last few years, you'll have the new blocks, the lane ropes, the flags. We have some banners up on the wall now. So things are going well. Right, things are really, really going well, and we want to see it continue to go well for us and for the broader community that uses the facilities too.
Awesome. So before we wrap it up, is there anything you'd like to say to the people of Dufferin?
Just please, if you're in a surrounding community and you live in East Garifrax, or you live in Mono, or you live in Shelburne or Amaranth or Erin or any of these other surrounding communities, rally your council members and help to make them understand that everybody wants to use these facilities in our surrounding communities, and it shouldn't just be the burden of the residents who live within the geographical borders of Orangeville to pay for them. Understand that you're benefiting from using the facilities, your kids are benefiting from using the facilities. Also understand that your kids could have a chance to earn university scholarships if they're performing at a high level, or they could go really, really far in their sport. And if we start losing facilities, it's going to be really difficult for you. You're going to have to drive further distances in most cases to find access to facilities that we have currently or we want to have elsewhere. So make sure that your council understands the importance of having the facilities within our region so that our kids continue to have opportunities, that you, if you use the facility yourself, have opportunities, and make sure town council understands that everybody should be asked to pay their fair share for the construction and the maintenance of these facilities, so that as a large general community, we have opportunities that we want and that we want for our children.
Well, where are they going to learn how to swim if they start losing access to Orangeville's pools? That's
great question. And we don't want, like I said, we don't want to see people having to drive their kids further away to other facilities if they're currently using 20 Rose and Alder, to drive over to Elora or over to Guelph or down to Brampton or over to Newmarket or up to Barrie. I know I drive there for competitions. It's a big investment of time. So understand that, while you might save some money by not having to pay for the construction of the facility, you're going to spend a lot of money in gas and you're going to spend a lot of time in a car. And that's not a lifestyle that I'm sure that you want or your kids want. Having access to the facilities that they need and that you need close to home is really beneficial, not only to having the facility, but just to your lifestyle, right? Nobody wants to spend 45 minutes to an hour in a car every day just to get to a facility and then to drive back. I mean, that's a lot of time, right? If we wanted to drive down to swim in a Brampton pool like Balmoral, where I swam as a young kid, or the McMurtry pool, where Cobra's home base, we're talking 25 to 35 minutes in good flow of traffic. And what's that like in the winter? It's a lot of extra time. You're doing 9 workouts a week, times half an hour. It's there and back. You're doing 9 hours of driving a week. That's a lot of time in the car, a lot of gas money. It's just not ideal. So just understand that, we all benefit from having the facilities that we utilize and we want in the communities where we live.
Yeah, we got to pay our fair share.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what's the best way to get in touch with and learn more about the Orangeville Otters?
Through our website. We have our website, orangevilleotters.com. We have a general line, so orangevilleotters@gmail.com is our general inquiries email address. That goes to our communications person. So Vanessa, if you're watching or you're listening, my apologies. I don't want to make more work from you. We do get a lot of interest in and around this time of year. We're normally ready to host our assessment nights in September, but again, because we don't have pool time, where we assess new incoming swimmers to see whether they're a good fit in the club, and if so, which group would be most appropriate for them. You can also email me. I'm coachrob@hotmail.com. So if you have anything else that you'd like to ask other than just a general inquiry to our club, they can reach me that way. I don't mind providing my email address. Even though Vanessa is fantastic, she handles a lot of our general inquiries. I do get inquiries as well. So those are the best 2 ways, coming through me or going through our general line. We're more than happy to answer questions. And again, we're more than happy if you're listening and you're in the Parks and Rec department. We're more than happy to help figure out a plan that's appropriate for our community and to help raise funds. And I'm happy to be the champion of competitive swimming in the community in whatever facet, whatever way I can help out and help us keep our facilities open or help acquire new ones. I'm happy to do that. Like I said, I want the residents of Orangeville and the surrounding community to have access to top level facilities, and I want our club to be able to continue to grow and to be able to provide opportunities for swimmers, not only just from Orangeville, but from surrounding communities too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure, Josh. Thank you for asking me to talk about it. It was kind of you to ask for some insights and for some opinions from me and from our team, and I really appreciate having a platform to discuss what's going on with aquatics with you today. So thank you for doing that. Really appreciate it. Help get our message out there. It's nice of you to do that for us.
Thank you for the insights. And again, I think it's important that we get more attention on this because, a lot of focus has been on the library, but this has a lot of big implications. So, we need to get more attention on this one. So thank you again. Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Well, that's it for this segment of Duffer News. Big thanks to Rob Taylor, head coach of the Orangeville Otters Swim Club, for his time and for his insights. And if you want to make your opinion known on the town of Orangeville's Parks and Rec Master Plan, make sure to reach out to Orangeville's Town Council, as that is who is in charge of making the decisions with regards to which of these proposals actually happen. Anyways, thank you for listening. I'm Josh McCune with Duffer News, and until next time, have a great one. Thanks.